Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to talk to you about something that has cost many of us far more than we ever imagined. It is the price we've paid for trusting the wrong people, following the wrong voices, and believing in those who never had our best interests at heart. We've all met them, people who promise much but deliver little, people who say they will stand with you but vanish when the storm comes, people who are quick to take but slow to give. They are what I call cheap people. Not in terms of money, but in their character, their loyalty, and their integrity. But let me tell you something. Cheap people will always cost you the most. They will cost you your peace of mind. Have you ever laid awake at night, troubled by the actions of someone who treated you unfairly? A friend who betrayed you? A business partner who deceived you? A loved one who walked away when you needed them most? My friends, that's an expensive lesson. They will cost you your time. How many of us have wasted years trying to please people who could never be pleased, trying to fix relationships that were never meant to last, trying to prove ourselves to people who never truly cared? Oh, what a high price we have paid for people who gave us so little in return. They will cost you your trust. Some of you carry wounds so deep that now you hesitate to trust anyone. Someone's dishonesty, someone's selfishness, someone's greed has made you skeptical. And now, even when a good person enters your life, you struggle to believe in them. That's another costly lesson, isn't it? But listen to me. Not everyone is like that. Not everyone is out to take advantage of you. Not everyone is cheap. There are still good people. There are still true friends. There are still those who will stand by your side when the fire gets hot. So what do we do with these expensive lessons? Do we grow bitter? Do we close our hearts forever? No! We learn, we grow, we become wiser. And most importantly, we don't let cheap people make us cheap too. You see, the danger of betrayal is that it can turn you into what hurt you. If you're not careful, you will become just as selfish, just as untrustworthy, just as cold as the people who wronged you. But there is a better way. We must choose integrity, even when others don't. We must choose generosity even when others take advantage of us. We must choose forgiveness even when others don't deserve it. Because, my friends, in the end, it is not what cheap people do to us that defines us, but how we respond that truly shapes our destiny. So tonight I challenge you, rise above the pain, learn from the wounds, be wiser, be stronger, and never let the wrong people make you forget the right ones. That, my friends, is the most valuable lesson of all. Cheap people will always cost you the most. At first they seem harmless, even beneficial. They come with smooth words, easy promises, and a charming presence that makes you believe they are here to add value to your life. They may present themselves as friends, mentors, business partners, or even family members who claim to have your best interests at heart. They may seem generous in their words, but their actions tell a different story. These are the people who take more than they give, who drain more than they fill, who smile in your presence, but talk behind your back. At first, their cost is invisible. You don't immediately see what they are taking from you because they are good at making it seem like you are getting something in return. They make you feel special, needed, and valued. They create an illusion of partnership, of shared goals, of mutual benefit. But over time, the reality begins to reveal itself. You start to feel exhausted, emotionally depleted, and perhaps even manipulated. You begin to realize that their loyalty only lasts as long as their benefit. Their kindness only extends as far as their gain. They cost you your peace of mind. How many nights have you stayed awake, replaying conversations, wondering if you should have said something differently, if you should have given them another chance, if you should have trusted them less? The burden they place on your mind is heavier than you realize at first. They plant seeds of doubt, of insecurity, of second guessing. You begin to wonder if you were the problem, if you expected too much, if you were too harsh. But deep down, you know the truth. They were never what they pretended to be. They took your trust and handled it recklessly. They played with your emotions, with your loyalty, and with your willingness to see the good in them. They cost you your time spent fixing what they broke, time spent making excuses for their behavior, time spent waiting for them to change, to see your value, to appreciate what you brought into their lives, time you could have spent with people who truly cared, with those who would never have treated you as disposable. But cheap people will always drain your time because they thrive on your patience, your hope, and your ability to give them the benefit of the doubt. They take advantage of your willingness to see the best in people, to give second chances, to believe that deep down they will eventually do the right thing, but they rarely do. And by the time you realize it, they have already wasted more of your life than you care to admit. They cost you your trust. The wounds they leave behind do not just fade away. They linger in your thoughts, in your relationships, in the way you approach new people. You hesitate to open up again, to believe in someone's words, to trust that what they say aligns with what they mean. Every promise now feels hollow. Every commitment feels fragile. Every kind gesture is questioned. Not because you want to be cynical, but because the scars they left remind you that not everyone who comes with good words has good intentions. They cost you your confidence. You may start to wonder if you were too naive, too foolish, too blind. You replay every red flag you ignored, every moment you gave them another chance, every time you believed they would do better. And you wonder if you can trust yourself again. You question whether your discernment is strong enough, whether your judgment is reliable, whether you will ever be able to see through people before they take advantage of you again. But the truth is, your kindness was never the problem. Your ability to trust, to believe, to care, that was never the issue. The issue was them. The issue was their lack of character, their selfishness, their inability to value what was real. It cost you your energy. The emotional toll of dealing with cheap people is heavier than most realize. They bring unnecessary stress, unexpected disappointments, and constant frustration. They make everything harder than it needs to be. Simple conversations turn into arguments. Clear agreements turn into endless complications. What should have been a smooth journey turns into a path full of detours and obstacles. And when they finally leave, when the lesson is finally learned, you are left picking up the pieces, trying to rebuild what they so carelessly destroyed. They cost you opportunities. While you were busy dealing with their drama, their manipulation, their empty promises, you missed out on better things. While you were occupied trying to fix things with them, other doors were closing. While you were spending your energy on making them see your worth, other people who would have valued you were passing by unnoticed. Cheap people do not just waste what you have, they keep you from receiving what you truly deserve. And yet, despite all of this, they never feel the cost the way you do. They move on easily, as if nothing happened. They find new people to take advantage of, new opportunities to exploit, new places to drain. And you are left with the bill, the emotional bill, the mental bill, the time you can't get back, the trust that will take years to rebuild. They walk away unbothered while you are left carrying the weight of what they took. But the most painful part, they never even acknowledge the cost. They act as if they gave as much as they took, as if the relationship was equal, as if you were the one who walked away from something valuable. Cheap people rarely recognize their own cheapness. They justify their actions, they rewrite history, they paint themselves as the victim, and you are left wondering if they ever truly valued anything about you at all. But the costliest thing about cheap people is not what they take from you, it's what they leave behind in you. The doubts, the insecurities, the hesitation to trust again. The battle between becoming like them or rising above. The choice between letting their actions make you bitter or making you better. And that, my friends, is the real test. Betrayal is expensive, but wisdom is the return on investment. There are moments in life when we invest our time, our trust, and our love into people, believing that they will appreciate the value of what we give. We believe in their words, in their promises, in the bond we think we share with them. But not all investments bring a return. Some cost us far more than we ever anticipated. Some leave us drained, wounded, and questioning our ability to ever trust again. There is no price tag on betrayal. Yet it often becomes one of the most expensive lessons a person will ever learn. Betrayal does not come from enemies. It comes from those we least expect. It comes from those we welcomed into our circle, those we confided in, those we stood by when they needed us most. It comes from the ones who once spoke words of loyalty, only to later speak words of deception. The sting of betrayal does not come merely from what was done, but from the shock of who did it. A stranger cannot truly betray you, for betrayal requires closeness, it requires trust, it requires the belief that the other person held some level of integrity. That is why it cuts so deeply. That is why it lingers far longer than the act itself. At first, betrayal feels like confusion. It feels like disbelief. You replay the moments leading up to it, searching for where it all went wrong. You ask yourself if you misread the signs, if you ignored the warnings, if you gave too much of yourself to someone who never truly valued you in the first place. You wonder if there was something you could have done differently, some way to prevent the pain, some way to turn back time. But the reality is, no amount of overthinking changes what has already been done. The wound exists, the damage is real, and now you are left with the cost. The cost of betrayal is often unseen by those who inflict it. They move on as if nothing happened, as if the weight of their actions does not linger in your life. They continue as if they did not just shake the very foundation of your trust, as if they did not alter the way you see relationships, as if they did not leave behind a wound that will take years to fully heal. They rarely acknowledge the pain they caused because for them it was simply a moment, a choice, a convenience. But for you it was something much greater. It was a breaking of something sacred, something valuable, something that can never fully be repaired. Betrayal does not just affect the past, it changes the future. It makes you question new people, new opportunities, new relationships. It makes you hesitate where you once acted with confidence. It makes you guarded where you were once open. It makes you doubt the sincerity of those who genuinely care. You find yourself looking for hidden motives, expecting the worst, preparing for the next disappointment. Even when you try to move on, the echoes of betrayal linger in the back of your mind. They remind you that trust is fragile, that not everyone is who they seem to be, that even those closest to you are capable of deception. And yet, amidst the pain, amidst the cost, there is something else that comes from betrayal: wisdom. The wisdom to see people more clearly, the wisdom to recognize patterns, the wisdom to value those who are truly loyal and to walk away from those who only pretend to be. Wisdom is not something that comes easily. It is often the result of the lessons we never wanted to learn. It is the result of heartbreak, of disappointment, of experiencing firsthand what it means to be deceived. But once we have it, we are never the same. Wisdom teaches us to stop investing in people who show us repeatedly that they are not worth the cost. It teaches us to recognize when someone is only there for what they can gain rather than what they can contribute. It teaches us to see beyond words and pay attention to actions, because words are cheap, but consistency is priceless. Wisdom allows us to distinguish between those who are genuine and those who are opportunistic. It allows us to take a step back before diving into relationships, before making commitments, before giving our trust away so freely. Wisdom also teaches us that betrayal is not a reflection of our worth, but a reflection of the character of those who betray us. It is easy to internalize the pain, to wonder if we were not good enough, if we were not deserving of loyalty, if we somehow failed in keeping the relationship intact. But the truth is, betrayal is a choice that someone else makes. It is not about you, it is about them. It is about their values, their selfishness, their inability to appreciate what they had, and in the end, they are the ones who lose something far greater than what they took from you. Wisdom also teaches us to let go of bitterness, because bitterness is another cost, one that we choose to pay if we are not careful. It is easy to hold on to resentment, to let the pain turn into anger, to allow the betrayal to define how we see the world. But wisdom shows us that bitterness does not heal wounds, it only deepens them. Carrying the weight of betrayal for too long does not punish those who wronged us, it only punishes ourselves. It keeps us stuck in a moment that has already passed, reliving something that no longer deserves a place in our present. Wisdom does not mean we forget what happened, but it does mean we use the lesson to make better choices. It means we grow from the experience rather than letting it shrink us. It means we learn to trust again, but this time with discernment. It means we recognize that not everyone will betray us, that not everyone is like the one who hurt us, that there are still people in this world who value honesty, loyalty, and integrity. The most expensive lessons in life are often the most valuable. They may cost us time, they may cost us trust, they may cost us temporary happiness, but in the end they shape us into stronger, wiser, more discerning individuals. And that is something no betrayal can ever take away. Don't let cheap people make you cheap too. There is a danger in being wronged, a subtle trap that many fall into without realizing it. When someone mistreats you, betrays you, or takes advantage of your kindness, the natural response is to harden yourself. You tell yourself that you will never let it happen again. You start building walls, you start expecting the worst, and before long you begin to change in ways you never intended. The very thing that hurt you starts to shape you. You begin to see the world through the lens of disappointment, expecting that everyone will eventually prove to be the same. Cheap people have a way of infecting others with their ways. They are selfish, so they make you want to become guarded. They are deceitful, so they make you question whether honesty is even worth it. They are takers, so they make you feel foolish for ever being generous. And if you are not careful, you will start mirroring their behavior without even realizing it. You will begin to withdraw from people who truly care. You will start holding back when you once gave freely. You will stop believing in loyalty, in kindness, in integrity, not because those things don't exist, but because you have encountered too many who lack them. One of the greatest losses in life is not what someone else takes from you, but what you allow yourself to lose in response to them. When someone betrays you, the real danger is not just the act itself, but what it does to your heart. You begin to change, not because you want to, but because pain has a way of shaping a person. The softness you once had begins to fade. The openness you once showed starts to close off. You become skeptical, distant, unwilling to trust again, not because you want to be this way, but because you feel like you have no other choice. Cheap people do not just steal your peace or your trust. They can also steal the best parts of you. They take advantage of your kindness. And you start questioning whether kindness is even worth it. They take your loyalty for granted. And you start wondering if loyalty is just a weakness. They take more than they give, and suddenly you start holding back what you used to offer so freely. And before you know it, you are no longer the person you once were. The warmth, the generosity, the faith in others, it all starts to fade. But what if the real test is not whether someone wrongs you, but whether you let it change you? What if the true victory is not in avoiding betrayal, but in refusing to let it redefine who you are? The world is filled with people who have let their experiences make them bitter, people who have allowed hurt to turn them into the very thing they despised. They were once kind, but now they are guarded. They were once honest, but now they manipulate to protect themselves. They were once open-hearted, but now they live in constant suspicion. And the tragedy is that they believe they have won. They think they have become smarter, stronger, wiser, but in reality, they have only lost themselves in the process. There is a strength in staying true to who you are, even when others take advantage of it. There is power in remaining kind, even when kindness is not returned. There is wisdom in giving, even when people have been ungrateful. Because at the end of the day, the actions of others should never determine the character of your own heart. If you allow someone else's selfishness to make you selfish, then they have won more than they ever should have. If you allow someone else's dishonesty to make you deceitful, then they have taken more than just your trust. If you allow their betrayal to turn you into someone who no longer believes in loyalty, then they have stolen more than just a moment. They have stolen a part of your soul. The hardest thing in life is to remain soft in a world that has tried to make you hard. It is to continue believing in good when you have seen so much bad. It is to continue loving when you have been hurt. It is to continue trusting when trust has been broken. It is to continue being who you are even when life gives you every reason to change. That is real strength. That is real victory. The truth is, not everyone is cheap. Not everyone will betray you. Not everyone is out to take advantage of you. And if you close your heart completely, you will miss out people different. You will miss out on real friendships, on true love, on genuine connections. You will miss out on the joy of, on the beauty of trust, on the freedom of an open heart. Yes, there are people who will take advantage of you, but there are also people who will value you. Yes, there are people who will betray you, but there are also people who will stand by you no matter what. Yes, there are people who are only out for themselves, but there are also people who are willing to give without expecting anything in return. The challenge is to not let the wrong ones make you miss out on the right ones. If you let cheap people make you cheap, then they have taken something far more valuable than money, trust, or time. They have taken the very thing that made you special. They have taken the qualities that set you apart, the things that made you different from them in the first place. And that is too great a price to pay. The real lesson is not to stop giving, but to give more wisely. Not to stop trusting, but to trust more carefully. Not to stop loving, but to love with discernment. The answer is not to become cold, but to become strong. The goal is not to shut yourself off, but to learn to see people for who they truly are. There is a difference between being naive and being kind. There is a difference between being blind and being open-hearted. There is a difference between being foolish and being generous. Cheap people will always exist. They will always try to take more than they give. They will always try to use, manipulate, and deceive. But the real question is, will you let them win? Will you let them take not just what you have, but who you are? Will you let them change the way you see the world, the way you see people, the way you see yourself? Because if you do, then they have taken something far greater than anything material. They have taken your faith in what is good. And that is the most expensive price of all. Not everyone is like that. It is easy to believe otherwise. It is easy to think that after being wronged, after being taken advantage of, after being deceived, there is no one left who is truly good. It is easy to let one betrayal overshadow all the loyalty that still exists in the world. It is easy to let one heartbreak make you believe that love is nothing more than an illusion. It is easy to let one person's selfishness convince you that kindness no longer holds any real value. But the truth is, no matter how many disappointments you have faced, no matter how many people have let you down, not everyone is like that. Pain has a way of blinding us. When you have been hurt, your vision of the world begins to change. You see everything through the lens of what you have been through. You start looking at new people with old wounds. You assume that history will repeat itself, that the cycle will continue, that no matter how much time passes, you will always end up facing the same disappointments. And so, without realizing it, you start to close yourself off. You become suspicious where you were once trusting. You hesitate where you were once confident. You withdraw where you were once open. And in doing so, you begin to lose sight of the truth. There are still good people in this world. Not everyone is out to take advantage of you. Not everyone is waiting for the right moment to betray you. Not everyone will disappear when you need them most. Not everyone is looking for what they can get from you rather than what they can give. Not everyone is motivated by selfishness, by greed, by deception. There are still those who mean what they say, who do what they promise, who stand by you even when it is not convenient. There are still those who believe in honesty, in integrity, in loyalty. But the danger of being hurt is that it makes you blind to these people. It makes you hesitant to trust them when they show up. It makes you doubt their sincerity, question their motives, and keep them at a distance. The very people who could restore your faith in others are often the ones you push away because you are afraid of being hurt again. And so, the cycle continues. Not because there are no good people left, but because you no longer allow yourself to see them. There is a difference between wisdom and fear. Wisdom teaches you to be discerning, to recognize the warning signs, to set healthy boundaries. But fear teaches you to shut yourself off, to assume the worst in everyone, to believe that no one is truly trustworthy. And if you are not careful, fear will keep you from the very relationships that could heal the wounds others have caused. It will convince you that you are protecting yourself when, in reality, you are only isolating yourself. It will make you believe that you are avoiding pain when in reality you are avoiding connection. Not everyone is like that. Yes, there are those who will take advantage of your kindness, but there are also those who will cherish it. Yes, there are those who will betray your trust, but there are also those who will protect it. Yes, there are those who only care about themselves, but there are also those who would give without expecting anything in return. The world is not as empty as pain makes it seem. There is still goodness. There is still love. There is still loyalty. There are still people who mean what they say and say what they mean. But you will never find them if you are too afraid to look. You will never recognize them if you are too focused on those who have wronged you. You will never receive the loyalty you deserve if you assume that no one is capable of giving it. The walls you build to keep the wrong people out can also keep the right people from coming in. The bitterness you hold on to because of those who hurt you can cause you to overlook those who would never dream of doing the same. Healing is not just about moving on from the past. It is about opening yourself up to the possibility that the future can be different. It is about believing that just because you have encountered the wrong people does not mean you will never encounter the right ones. It is about giving yourself permission to trust again, to love again, to believe again. It is about recognizing that you are not defined by the ones who mistreated you, and neither is the world. It takes courage to believe in goodness when you have seen so much bad. It takes strength to remain open-hearted when you have every reason to close yourself off. It takes faith to trust again when trust has been broken before. But if you do not take that risk, you will never experience the relationships that are meant for you. You will never know what it feels like to be surrounded by people who genuinely care, who genuinely love, who genuinely value you. Not everyone is like that. And if you give yourself the chance, you will see it. The right people will never make you feel like you are hard to love. There are people in this world who will take your kindness for granted, who will make you feel like you are always the one giving while they are always the one receiving. There are those who will make you question whether you are too much, too emotional, too caring, too invested. They will make you feel as if your love is a burden, as if your loyalty is an inconvenience, as if the way you give so freely is something to be used rather than cherished. And if you are not careful, you will start to believe them. You will start to think that maybe you are the problem. Maybe you expect too much. Maybe you care too deeply. Maybe you should hold back, be colder, love less. But the truth is, love is not the problem. You are not the problem. The problem is that you have been giving your love to people who do not know how to receive it. You have been offering your heart to those who only know how to take, never how to give. You have been pouring into people who do not appreciate the weight of what you bring. And when someone does not recognize the value of love, they will always treat it like an inconvenience. Love is not a weakness. It is not something to be ashamed of. It is not something to hide or suppress just because the wrong people fail to see its worth. Love is one of the greatest strengths a person can have. The ability to care, to give, to be present for others, even when there is nothing in it for you. The world is full of people who are selfish, who are detached, who are only interested in what they can gain. But you are different. You choose to love despite the risk. You choose to care even when it would be easier to walk away. You choose to show up for people even when no one else does. And that is not something to be ashamed of. That is something to be proud of. The right people will never make you feel like your love is too much. They will never make you feel like you are exhausting to care about, like your affection is overwhelming, like your presence is something to tolerate rather than appreciate. The right people will embrace the way you love. They will see the beauty in it. They will recognize that in a world full of selfishness, your heart is rare. And they will not just take what you give, they will give back in return. They will make you feel safe in your love, secure in your affection, confident that you are not just someone they can use, but someone they truly cherish. There is nothing lonelier than being surrounded by people who do not appreciate you. You can give and give, you can pour yourself into a relationship, into a friendship, into a connection, and yet if it is not with the right people, you will still feel empty. You will still feel unseen, unheard, undervalued. Because love is not just about what you give, it is also about what you receive. And if you are the only one giving, then it is not love, it is sacrifice. It is selflessness to the point of exhaustion. It is pouring into an empty cup that will never be full. The right people will fill your cup. They will make you feel loved in return. They will not just be there when they need something from you. They will be there because they genuinely want to be. They will not make you feel like you have to earn their affection, like you have to prove your worth, like you have to constantly chase their attention. With the right people, love flows naturally. It does not feel forced. It does not feel like a game of who cares less. It does not feel like something you have to fight for every single day. It just is. Love should not feel like a battle. It should not feel like an uphill climb where you are always the one doing the work. It should not feel like a constant struggle to get someone to see you, to appreciate you, to value what you bring. The right people will never make you question where you stand. They will never make you feel like you are asking for too much just by wanting to be loved the way you love others. Love, they will meet you halfway. They will match your effort. They will make you feel like love is not something you have to beg for, but something that is freely given. If you have ever felt like you were too much, like you needed to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's life, like you had to tone down your love to make someone stay, then you were never with the right people to begin with. Because the right people will never ask you to be less. They will never make you feel like you are difficult to love. They will never make you second guess your worth, your value, your ability to give and receive love. The right people will remind you that you are not too much. You are simply giving your love to people who were too little. There is a difference between being hard to love and being loved by the wrong people. If someone makes you feel like you are too much, it is not because your love is excessive. It is because their capacity to love is limited. If someone makes you feel like your emotions are overwhelming, it is not because you feel too deeply. It is because they are not capable of handling depth. If someone makes you feel like your presence is an inconvenience, it is not because you are in the wrong place. It is because you are surrounded by the wrong people. The right people will never see you as a burden. They will never make you feel like you have to apologize for caring, for feeling, for being who you are. They will cherish your love, not make you doubt it. They will embrace your heart, not take it for granted. They will see the way you love, and instead of running from it, they will run toward it. You do not need to change who you are to fit into someone else's life. You do not need to love less just to make someone stay. You do not need to hide your heart just because someone else is incapable of appreciating it. The right people will love you as you are. They will make you feel safe in your love, not insecure. They will remind you that love is not something to be feared, not something to be rationed, not something to be given only when it is convenient. Love is meant to be shared, to be experienced, to be felt deeply. The wrong people will drain you. They will take what you give without ever thinking to give back. They will make you question whether love is even worth it. They will make you wonder if maybe you were better off being cold, being distant, being closed off. But the right people will restore your faith. They will remind you why you love the way you do. They will show you that love is not meant to be exhausting, that relationships are not meant to be one-sided, that real love, genuine, mutual, reciprocal love exists. You are not hard to love. You never were. You were just loving people who were never meant to carry the weight of your heart. You were giving to people who did not understand the value of what they had. But there are people out there who will. There are people who will see you and know without hesitation that the way you love is rare, and they will hold on to it. They will protect it. They will never make you feel like you are too much, because to them you will be exactly enough.